The chili had gone cold in the pot when my phone buzzed at 5:33. Not a text saying they were running late, not an apology. A video. My sister Tessa. Sunglasses reflecting camera flashes, one manicured hand on the hood of a candy-red convertible. The engine revved. Someone, my mother's voice, squealed in the background. "We did a thing!" I stood in my spotless kitchen, string lights glowing above counters I'd scrubbed until my knuckles ached. 8 matching bowls arranged on a table, set for the family I'd invited to celebrate the biggest accomplishment of my life. The citronella candles I'd lit at 5:11 had burned down an inch. The cornbread sat cooling on a rack I'd bought specifically for this moment. They weren't coming. They'd never planned to come. My name is Elena. I'm 29 and a financial analyst. This is the story of how I learned that some doors need to lock from the inside. The irony tasted like copper. I'd spent 4 years stacking sacrifices. Overtime shifts, roommates who left moldy dishes, no vacations, takeout denied $40 at a time. All to buy this little craftsman house with the crooked blue fish tile and the lemon tree that clicked in the wind. I'd name my savings spreadsheet brick by brick. Each row represented something I'd given up so I could have something they couldn't take. Except now, staring at that video of my sister's car, temporary tags crooked in the window, my parents beaming beside her, I understood with brutal clarity what they'd actually skipped. Not a housewarming, a transfer of power. I turned off the burner, ate 1 bowl of chili over the sink, chewing mechanically while the porch swing creaked in the wind outside. The silence in my house wasn't peaceful. It was diagnostic. It confirmed what I'd spent years documenting in a little notebook, then a phone file. Every dollar I'd given them since I was 14, every emergency that vaporized into fog, every time I'd asked for proof and gotten laughter instead. At 5:41, I flipped on my living room lights. The room looked staged, perfect, empty. My phone buzzed again. Dad's name. "We need to talk now." Not congratulations, not an apology, logistics. I should have known then. The empty housewarming wasn't the betrayal, it was the opening move. Growing up, money in our house wore costumes. Sometimes it was called love, sometimes responsibility, sometimes duty, whatever word fit the transaction. When I was 14, Dad started charging me room and board, $100 a month from my grocery store paycheck. "Teaches you the real world," he'd said, taking the bills like I was paying a fine. By 16, I'd asked where the money went. "Into the family," Mom had answered. When I asked for proof, Dad laughed. That laugh still echoes in my skull. Meanwhile, my younger sister Tessa lived under a softer sky. When I bought a used car, I changed my own oil in parking lots. When she got hers, Dad handed her keys to a new hatchback. "A young woman needs something safe," he'd announced. Everyone clapped. When she dropped out of college, they called it vision. When she started an unlicensed candle business, they called it potential. And when I said no, when I refused to co-sign a lease or add her to my phone plan, the language shifted. Suddenly I wasn't family. I was stingy, cold, a ledger with legs. "Don't be a ledger, Elena," Mom would say, her voice going glassy. "We fed you, clothed you, did everything for you." Dad would deliver the killing blow while staring out windows. A real daughter provides. That's how love was measured in my house, not in presents or words, but in transactions. The more I gave, the more they asked, and the less I existed outside their needs. I'd thought buying a house would change that equation. I was wrong. They arrived the next evening in a convoy. No call first. Dad's truck in front, Mom's SUV behind, Tessa's shiny red car bringing up the rear. I watched through the peephole as Mom pressed her lips together, preparing to scold, as Tessa checked her hair in the visor mirror, as Dad grabbed a clipboard from his passenger seat. Of course he had a clipboard. I opened the door before they could ring. "Hey," I said, flat. Mom air-kissed near my cheek. "We'll bless the house after," she announced. "After what?" Dad brushed past me like he owned the place. Tessa filmed a pan for her story. "Look, you guys, my sister's house." No one took off their shoes. No one noticed the crooked blue fish tile. No one asked about the lemon tree dropping fruit in the backyard. Dad set the clipboard on my counter, the counter I'd scrubbed spotless for them, and flipped to a page covered in printouts, headings, bullet points. His eyes gleamed. This was a project he'd prepared for. "First item," he began. "Since your sister's insurance is predatory, we're moving her registration to your address. She'll park here sometimes." The words landed like stones in still water. "No," I said. He blinked. "Excuse me?" "No registration at my address unless the person lives here." Mom's voice went syrupy. "She'll be here all the time. She needs a stable base." Tessa leaned on my counter, phone still recording. "It's not a big deal, victimless." "It's not about crime," I replied. "It's about my name." Dad exhaled, humoring a stubborn child. "You're being rigid. Next item, we need to get your father on the deed." My pulse jumped. "You are my father." He ignored it. "For estate reasons, so things are clean if anything happens to you." "If anything happens to me," I said slowly, "my will is in my desk drawer. 2 witnesses signed it. No one goes on my deed." Mom's smile thinned toward sharp. "We're protecting you. You don't understand how the world works." "I understand perfectly." Dad flipped another page. "Fine, then at least pull some cash out. Refinance. A small equity line, $80,000, will help manage it. Tessa needs a down payment for a storefront." There it was. The reason they'd skip my housewarming. Not to celebrate me, not to bless my house, to turn my home into their leverage. I stared at the chili-stained sink, and suddenly the 3 people standing in my kitchen weren't my family. They were creditors who happened to share my last name. "No," I said. "No deed. No refinance. No registrations. None of it." Dad's eyebrows shot up like I'd cursed at church. Mom's eyes shimmered, practice tears forming on cue. Tessa's phone hovered, hungry for drama. Dad leaned forward, elbows on my counter. "Be a good daughter. Step up, provide." I laughed once, sharp and brittle. "You taught me to provide. You charged me rent at 14. I stepped up. I saved. I did this on my own. This house is not a group project." The air tightened. This was the moment I was supposed to fold. I didn't. Tessa jabbed a finger. "You don't even use both bedrooms. I could move in, help with content, pay you a little." "How much?" I asked. She blinked. Dad slapped the clipboard. "Enough. Here's what's going to happen. We'll fix the deed. We'll refi. We'll register the car. You'll host Thanksgiving. You have the space." "No," I repeated, calm, steady, each syllable a lock clicking shut. Mom's tears spilled. "Why are you punishing us? You're our daughter. We raised you. Family reallocates resources to the child in need. Your sister is launching. You're steady. You carry more, so you carry her." "I just settled here," I said. "This house is my foundation. I won't let you dig it out." Dad's tone dropped low and dangerous. "You don't slam doors on blood." "I'm not slamming," I said. "I'm locking what I paid for." The silence cracked. Tessa sneered. "You're lucky. You got a house. Some of us actually need help." "I needed help too," I said quietly. "I just gave it to myself." Dad jabbed a finger. "If you do this, don't come crying when you're alone." Mom added softly. "And don't expect us to show up when you need something." I stared at the lemon on my counter, bright yellow against the spotless surface. I wanted to throw it. Instead, I straightened my shoulders. "House rules," I said. "No registrations unless you live here. No keys handed out. No one on my deed. No loans for boutiques or saw collections. If Grandma needs medicine, I'll help her directly. Otherwise, this house is not your ATM." Dad barked a laugh. "An ATM? You mean a receipt?" "Yep," I said. "A receipt. From now on, everything has one." Mom shook her head slowly. "You've changed." "I've moved," I said, "and this house moves with me." They left without another word. Tessa revved her new car so loud the windows rattled. The sound faded into the night, but the tremor in my chest stayed. Within an hour, the family group chat erupted. Mom: "Your behavior today was unacceptable." Dad: "Ungrateful." Tessa posted screenshots to her story with snake emojis. Her friends sent laughing reactions. A stranger commented, "Toxic." I muted the chat, turned off my ringer, Then I got to work, changed the lock codes, froze my credit, flagged my property records at the county, called the dealership. Yes, someone had tried to use my address. No, it didn't go through. Paper trails keep reality real. Mom's voicemail swung from scolding to pleading. If you love me, call me. Dad sent refinance calculators captioned. Be reasonable, Tessa posted. Sometimes the people closest to you laugh when you try to drive. Drive anyway. But here's what they didn't know. I'd started preparing for this years ago. That little notebook I'd kept since I was 14, I'd digitized it. Every payment, every family emergency, every time they'd promised to pay me back and didn't. Dates, amounts, context. I had years of documentation showing a pattern. And when Dad tried to add himself to my deed anyway, I found out through a county clerk who knew me from processing my purchase. I didn't just say no. I went nuclear. I filed a fraud alert. Then I contacted every family member individually, not in the group chat. Private messages. I sent them the spreadsheet, every transaction, every broken promise, every time they'd called me selfish for having boundaries. I sent it to Grandma first. She called within 10 minutes. Are you eating? She asked. Yes, I told her. She chuckled. Good girl. Don't let your mother guilt you about your walls. That was her version of, I love you. Then I sent it to my aunt, my uncle, the cousins who'd been liking Tessa's posts about her sabotaging sister. I didn't editorialize. I just sent the numbers with one line, in case you were wondering why I set boundaries. The group chat went silent for 3 days. When it started up again, it wasn't about me. It was my aunt asking Dad about a loan he'd taken from Grandma in 2019. My uncle asking about the $5,000 Mom had borrowed for Tessa's business launch in 2022. The question started a domino effect. Apparently, I wasn't the only one they'd been using as a bank, and other family members started comparing notes too. Turned out I wasn't the only person they'd been treating like a bank. The Sunday they'd planned to hold a family meeting about my behavior, I grilled 2 burgers on my little patio. They held it without me. I wasn't invited after my refusal to participate in their plans, and I wouldn't have gone anyway. Gave one to my neighbor, the woman who'd waved at me on moving day. She smiled. You're a good neighbor. That felt more real than any blessing ritual. A week later, I hosted another housewarming. Not for them, for me. Co-workers, friends from my basketball league, my neighbor and her husband. We ate the same chili and cornbread, laughed on the squeaky porch swing. At 9:10, someone said, "This place feels like you." For the first time, I believed it. 3 months later, Tessa's car got repossessed. The dealership had used my parents' address after mine was rejected, but they couldn't make the payments. Dad called me once, asking if I could step up one more time. I told him I'd already stepped up when I bought my own house. He hung up. Mom sent a long text about family loyalty and how I'd regret this someday when I needed them. I didn't respond, but I did screenshot it and add it to my documentation folder, just in case. That text was the last real communication we ever had. In the years since, there have been no calls, no visits, no attempts at reconciliation from either side. My relationship with my parents and Tessa didn't just fracture. It ended completely, and for the first time in my life, I'm okay with that. Because here's what I learned from that empty housewarming, from that clipboard on my counter, from years of being treated like an account instead of a daughter. Family isn't ownership. Boundaries aren't betrayal. And freedom can sound like a locked door with laughter inside it. This house is mine. The deed has one name on it. The locks have codes only I know. The lemon tree drops fruit in my backyard, and I'm the only one who gets to decide who sits under it. Finally, it's mine. If you've ever had to draw a line with family, you know how heavy and how freeing that line can be. Have you faced something like this? Tell me in the comments. You're not alone in this fight. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.